Shabbat Shalom. We're going to start on an unusual page. He's already laughing, gosh. We're going to start on page 1. I know. The audacity.
Shocking.
We're actually going to sing a song that's been in our prayer book for a while, but we haven't sung it. So this melody may be familiar or not, but nonetheless, I hope you enjoy it. You need nefesh.
Bruchim Abayim and welcome. Welcome to this space. Welcome to this moment. Welcome to this Shabbat. It's nice, to start on page 1. I think we should do that every day, in our lives. And so often I find myself starting the day already on page 26 because my mind is also already rushing towards what's happening this afternoon. What meetings do I have? And I haven't even, opened my eyes yet. So starting on page 1, it's a really lovely concept. Welcome to all of you, those of you who have come here tonight in this space. Those of you who are participating from home. There is something new in this space that we're going to need to get used to, is we have air conditioning. And so it's blowing on all the pieces of paper that I have. Welcome to those of you participating from home and entering this space of Shabbat together. These months, as we do, we know we change the recipient of our tzedakah every quarter. And so since the beginning of July, we have elected the board of Bet Aleph after suggestions, oftentimes from Bet Aleph members, select a recipient for our tzedakah, for the gift that you share every Shabbat, as it is our tradition. Whether you are participating from home, you can go to our website, to the homepage, and click where it says either give at the top right corner or donate at the bottom left corner, and select tzedakah in the drop-down menu. Here, we're just going to invite you to, in a moment, find the tzedakah box in the back of the sanctuary. We have opted with what's going on in our country these past few months, the board, myself, have opted to share half of our tzedakah with an organization called the Sophia Way. Now, the Sophia Way is a place of hope and change for women. It provides shelter, safety, and stability, and also dedicated staff and case managers to support these women as they experience homelessness or just major challenges in their lives. The Sophia Way supports these women on their journey out of homelessness and support them in finding safe and stable ongoing living. Because as we know, and especially these days, and as the news become more and more dire in our newsfeed every day, every woman needs and deserves a place to call home. And the Sophia Way, which believes in this critical principle, has 6 guiding principles of their trauma-informed approach, which are safety, trustworthiness and transparency, peer support, collaboration and mutuality, and empowerment, voice and choice, as well as cultural, historical, and gender-specific issues that Sophia Way addresses. So that's the organization we felt and still believe we are compelled to support these months. And that's what I invite you to share your abundance, your gift from your heart tonight on this Shabbat and whenever you are moved to give tzedakah. As our members here are finding their way to the tzedakah box, those of you who are lighting candles tonight, please come forward and begin kindling your candles, our candles, I should say, while we sing page 24, Light. No, okay.
Candles in the dark will open up our hearts. peace, no comfort. The nights are long and hold no promise of tomorrow. But somewhere deep inside there burns a tiny flame. It can bring release to all our sorrows. So come together, each one bring your light, light. Light a candle with me. 1,000 candles in the dark will open up our hearts. Light a candle with me. 1,000 candles in the dark will open up our hearts. Light all the candles, let's light the candles everywhere. Just look at me and take my hand. The heat of love will glow again. Light a candle with me. 1,000 candles in the dark will open up our hearts. Light a candle with me. 1,000 candles in the dark will open up our hearts. Light a candle with me. 1,000 candles in the dark will open up our hearts. Light a candle with me. 1,000 candles in the dark will open up our hearts.
Every Shabbat, we invite members of our community to come forward and light a candle and tell us and share with us in community what they're lighting for, what they are celebrating, honoring, commemorating. We're going to start on our right. Celia Curran is lighting her Shabbat candles tonight for her grandmother, Shirley Harris, on her 20th yahrzeit. Next to Celia is my mom, Martine Yanni, and with Diana Rose. Together they lit their Shabbat candles in celebrating their birthdays, together with Shelley Oakley, because the three of them have and share the same birthday, July 10. So happy birthday to all of you. Next to the three birthday ladies, we have Evan Brown. And Evan is lighting his Shabbat candles tonight to mark a significant life cycle event on his Jewish journey, the first step towards his conversion to Judaism. And he wishes tonight, as he kindles his candles, to thank Rabbi Olivier and Kate Elias for being so far his witnesses in this process. And we were honored to support you. Next to Evan is Kate Elias, and she is lighting her candles to congratulate Evan and to say that her trip to the mikveh 17 years ago, yesterday, that's right, she made a point to have her mikveh on Bastille Day, which I completely understand. And she writes that this is one of the best decisions that she's ever made in her life. Amen. And next to Kate, there's a group of 3. 2 of them are supporting Anita, who is on our left, and her family. They are lighting their Shabbat candles tonight for Anita's brother, Matthew Dana, on his 9th yard site. 19th yard site.
He was my younger brother.
19th yard site. So the question is always, as I turn to you, wherever you are, participating from home or right here in the sanctuary, to close your eyes for a moment and in your heart to see perhaps what you would be lighting your Shabbat candles for, what perhaps you are at home lighting your Shabbat candles for, what you are yearning to bless in your life, to honor, to perhaps mourn, to mark, and whatever that is, and perhaps just the blessing is enough. We're still on page 1. And we cover our eyes to remind ourselves that the blessing we are pronouncing blesses the lights that we kindle within ourselves. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק נר של שבת. Amen. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to invite everyone to please rise as we turn to page 5 to share the Baruch Hu together. We say, Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Bless the Eternal, the one who is blessing. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Blessed is the Eternal, the one who is blessing eternally.
La
And at the top of page 6, we find the words of the Shema, the 6 words that are the central affirmation of our tradition, the central mantra of our meditative practices. That has been the case for thousands of years. Together, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Listen, Israel. The eternal manifests as all that is. The eternal is one. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Blessed is the name. The splendor of its presence shines eternally.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael
Please be seated. And we continue still on page 6 with a Ve'ahavta.
ואהבת
את אדוני אלוהיך
בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך kol mitzvotai, v'iten kedoshim le'elechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hoseti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, liot lachem le'elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem.
And we continue just turning the page to page 7. At the top of the page, Mi Chamocha. Seated, or here you are. Okay. So now we get to turn the page once more. And since you are already standing, we continue with the Amidah and we rise. We say together, Adonai sfatai tiftach, ufi yagid tehilatecha. Eternal One, open my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise.
Tehillah, Tehillah,
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Leah ve'Elohei Rachel האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון. גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה הכל אתה, רב להושיע, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לישני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הכל. You may be seated now. Trying to find a way to make sure things stay. You're in luck that you have joined us tonight, because contrary to most Shabbat, tonight is my favorite Torah portion of the year. And the reason for that is that it's the story of, the Torah portion is called Balak. And it's the story of, part of one of the stories in that Torah portion is the amazing story of the talking donkey and Balak, who hires a professional curser. Let me back up. Why? Why does Balak, who is Balak, and why is this all happening? Balak is the king of Moab, and he has a little problem. Actually, he has a major problem. And the major problem he has is that the Israelites' tribes are encamped at the border of his kingdom, and he believes, rightfully so, that they are about to attack and invade. And he knows from the stories that were going around the Middle East at the time that any army who had stood in front of the Israelites has been defeated. Not only does he, the king of Moab, know, but he knows that all of his soldiers also know. And you can imagine as they are overlooking the encampment of Israel at their border, the fear and the dread that they are feeling. And so Balak has kind of a genius idea. In order to raise the spirit of his soldier to have a fighting chance against the Israelite armies, he's going to hire a professional curser, someone who will come and in front of his soldiers curse the tribes of Israel so that his soldier would feel that now they have an edge, they have an advantage over the Israelites who have been cursed. So he hires this world-renowned professional curser, Bilam, and he summons him at his borders in front of his armies between the encamped Israelites and his armies. And in front of everyone, he asks Bilam to curse the Israelites because it says in the Torah, because Balak says to Bilam in the ears of all of his soldiers, because anyone whom you curse is cursed, and anyone whom you blessed is blessed. So go ahead and curse them. And so they climb upon a little butte that overlooks the encampment of the Israelites. They build an altar there. Bilam do all his incantations, gets ready. There's a whole special effects you can imagine, the potions and all of that, concentrates. And as he goes to pronounce the curse that he was paid by the king to curse the Israelites with, instead, words of blessings come pouring out of his mouth. And he tells the king, I can only do what God tells me to do. I'm only a conduit for the words of the divine. So maybe something is happening here outside of my control. And Balak is furious. None of that. No one believes that. Go to this little butte over there. This one clearly didn't work. Go to that little one over there. And in the ears of all of my soldiers, curse the Israelite tribes. All right, so they go together. They again built him an altar. You imagine the potions, all the things that he's doing to get ready to curse. And then he looks down at the Israelite tribes, and in the moment of cursing them, words of blessing once again come pouring out of his mouth. Balak is irate. He can't believe his ears. He can't believe what's going on. All his plan to shore up the courage of his soldiers is seemingly falling apart. He said, one last chance. Do it this time. You can't do it this time. There's a third butte. I don't know how many buttes there were around the Israelite tribes. Clearly there were a lot, which means that it was not a really good strategic position to engage in war. Because if you're surrounded by little hills like that your enemy can curse you from, you're in trouble because they have the higher ground. Anyway, close this parenthesis. He goes to that third little hill, does the same shamanic thing, builds the altar, sacrifices, whatever, and in the moment of cursing the Israelites once again, and we'll sing these words in a little while, words of blessing come pouring out of his mouth. Dread spread through his armies. Now, for sure, they know they will be defeated. There is no way out of this. No way out of this. Now, why did Balak think that cursing would actually work? What was in his consciousness that he thought that's really a great thing to do, that really will help us? He thought that because he understood human condition. And the human condition is that words matter. Words matter. Whether they are words of blessing or words of curses, words matter if those who hear them believe in them. We can see that in our own life. Sometimes we receive words that are not so much words of blessings, and if we believe those dark or difficult words, if they resonate within us, if they touch a chord within us, then we react. We react oftentimes in angry ways. We snap. We retaliate. Right? And this is kind of the same psychological context. Balak understood that these words of curses, if Bilam were to pronounce them, these words were going to seed the seed of courage in his soldiers. Words can have that kind of power over us once we believe them, once we assign them truth. Once we say truth, these words are truth. Once we believe in the story, then the story becomes real for us, whatever the story is. You can read this or understand this at the micro level or at the macro level. Any story we tell about ourselves that we come to believe becomes who we are. Any meta story of our nation, our civilization, our world that we come to believe becomes a reality. We, as you and me, members and citizens of this country of ours, live in this country because we share or we believe in the story we've been told about what America is. How it should be, its economy, its politics, its everything. We kind of go with the story of our civilization. Perhaps we've come to notice that we should do something about that story. Maybe it no longer serves us. And that, again, goes personally as it goes nationally or on the level of our civilization. Now keep that, because I'll come back to it, and actually I'm going to weave it in what I'm going to share with you next. A few days ago, in a meditation, I was shown one of those old wagon wheels, those wooden wheels. And the hub at the center was empty. And at the end of every spoke of the wheel was one of the roles I play in my life. One of the spoke was the role I play as a father. One was me as a son, me as a brother, me as a husband, me as a rabbi. And each of those spoke, which culminated in that role, had a specific story connected to that role that I played. The story of me father, the story of me rabbi, the story of me husband, the story of me son. It has that story embedded within. And each of those spoke was a very particular rendition, a particular expression of what I call me. It was me over here and me over there in different roles, embodying different stories. And they seemed to be completely different stories based on which spoke I followed. It's almost like at the end of each spoke was a different me. And all these roles, all these stories were actually mutually exclusive. Like I couldn't be in the role of husband with my brother. It wouldn't work. I couldn't be in the role of rabbi with my wife if I wanted to still be married. So each of those stories really were separate stories. They were different stories. And it felt like in different contexts of my life, I actually embodied a different me, a different story. And so I looked at all of those roles that I play on the wheel, and I wonder which one of those is the totality of who I am, is the totality of me. Which one of those is that one expression that I can say, I could point to and say, this is me, this one. But I couldn't. Because as soon as I pointed to one, the other on the other side said, well, what about me? And I said, okay, so I am, no, but what about me? So none of these roles could be the totality of me. That was kind of disempowering. I didn't know where I stood. I could play rabbi, but that wasn't totally who I am. I could play father, but that wasn't totally who I am. So I thought if I just meditate further and in that vision I can put all the spokes together, then the totality, if I could merge all the spokes as one, that would be me. That would be me. But there was no possibility of bringing all the spokes together because they don't appear at the same time. There is no way to have all of them all at once. I cannot be all of those roles in one moment of my life. And think about it. There's no possibility for any one of us to be all of these roles, which we consider being ourselves, all at once. They are time-bound and space-bound. They're context-bound. Okay, so I was trying to figure out which one of those was me. And I couldn't find answers. I kept asking questions. So I asked, if I wasn't able to be all the spokes all at once, maybe one of them was a dominant one. You know, like the major me, and all the rest would be little me's, mini me's. You know, but not really, right? Maybe that would give me my sense of identity. I could find out who I am. And I tried and I looked and I said, okay, which one of those me is most me compared to any other? Which story is the story, my story, the story of me, most of all? And the more I looked at all the different roles that I play in my life, and I play a lot, because I exist in a lot of different contexts, as each of us does, I couldn't identify one that was the dominant one. As soon as I designated one, oh, you are, then the other screamed, what about us? They were irreconcilable. They were not, I could not put them together in any kind of order. They had to remain separate. There was no way that the story of Father Me was ever going to be more important than the story of Rabbi Me. That was not going to happen. Each, though infused, don't get me wrong, I think every story infuses every other story. I think that the Rabbi I am is impacted by the father I am, the husband I am, the son I am, But each one is still unique. They're not reducible to each other. But I stayed with the meditation, though frustrating it was. I ask, would the real me please stand up? Kind of defeated, surrendered. And it was nowhere to be found. I looked, and I was nowhere to be found. There were and always are going to be multiple me's, none of which is the actual me, which is very much a paradox. Each and every one of them owns a particular, partial, limited version of me that only gets activated when I exist in a specific context, in a specific place, at a specific time. And how is that for you? And so if we only exist in those compartmentalized little nuggets of me here, there, responding to the moment and embodying that role, that story in that moment, then who are we? Who are we? And it felt to me, and I don't know, I'm gonna leave you maybe with another question, but it felt like the center of the hub, that empty space at the center, was that which in any given moment would rise up as one of the spokes and become that role and that story. And then when that was over, that story would recede at the center of the whole. And then when another moment arose that needed another role and another story, then that one arose from the center of the wheel until it came back into it. And every moment was outer and inner, coming out, being the role and the story for a while, and then collapsing back again into the emptiness of the center until another part of the story of the role showed up and needed to be manifested, and then back at the center, the empty center of the whole. And I thought that's exactly what Kabbalah tells us. That's exactly what Kabbalah tells us. How do I explain? Kabbalah tells us, based on actually the story of Genesis, the story of the Garden of Eden. You know, the story of the Garden of Eden, just before Adam and Eve are ushered out of the garden, lovingly and kindly ushered out of the garden. Something happens right there. You might not remember because you don't play the role of the rabbi. God dresses them in garments of skin. Until that point, they didn't possess a body. They weren't dressed in garments of skin. That's literally what the Torah is saying. And actually, what's beautiful is the word for skin is or in Hebrew, and the word for light in Hebrew is or. Just spelled a little differently, different consonant, aleph versus ayin. And I believe that they were beings of light that got dressed in garments of skin. And I believe all of us, that is what the Kabbalah tries to explain, that all of us are beings of light, of the one light of the divine, at the center of the hub, dressed up in the garment of skins you inhabit right now. And so it makes sense from the Kabbalistic perspective that the hub is where each and every role we play emerges, but we are none of those roles. We cannot, the problem is that we identify with the roles. We think we are the roles we play, where in fact, we are the center of the hub that manifests as this role in this moment, in this context. One of my teachers, Muji, says, you are a gift of God to this world. Don't identify with a wrapping paper. But we identify with the roles become the me. But we can see, if we look, there is no me. There is a bundle of me, a bunch of them, but there is no one me. We are each expression of the empty center, the divine center of our being, existing in different contexts. And as I was driving here tonight, going through the beautiful streets, my mom said in the car, it's so lush and green here. We are blessed with a lot of rain, I told her. But I started to look at the trees as the garment of wood, the divine dressed as tree, the divine dressed as the roses, the bushes of all the greenery that is in everyone's garden, behind everybody's home. Each plant also the garment of the divine one, dressed up as a bush, as a tree, as a rose, as a tulip, as a whatever you look at. And I thought, in my meditation, I thought, now what would happen if I stopped believing in the stories? Which brings me back to Bilam. Which brings me back to the story of Balak and Bilam and the blessings and the curses, because there is a gorgeous rabbinic commentary on this very passage that tries to explain not just that God spoke through Bilam as he blessed the Israelites, but that he also himself was moved. Bilam himself was moved by the gorgeousness of the Israelites' encampment. And why the rabbis say, continuing on their own tangent, because rabbis love to do that, as I demonstrated tonight, Why was the encampment of the Israelites so gorgeous that it moves Bilam so deeply that he couldn't curse them and bless them instead? The rabbis say that it was the way the tribes were ordered, and each clan within each tribe were ordered in their encampment that respected each family's integrity, each family's privacy, each family's authenticity, that just blew Bilam's mind. That it was such care and compassion and loving kindness embodied in just the way every encampment was set up vis-a-vis all of those who surrounded it, that Bilam's heart couldn't but open wide. And he was moved, deeply moved to bless, because what he saw was goodness. The Israelites' encampment embodied the story of goodness. How goodly, he said, how goodly your tent, O Israel, your dwelling places, your encampments, you Yaakov, Jacob. And that song, as promised, is on page 25. And as the lights grow dim here in the sanctuary, and perhaps at home, wherever you are joining us from, I invite you to close your eyes. I'd like to enter into this meditation with shalom. I'd like to invite all of us to chant shalom together in 5 times. To lengthen the chant a little more. Usually we do 3, but we'll do 5. And then we'll do 3 on the way out. So find your breath. And close your eyes. And see with the next out breath if you can relax the body. As deeply as possible. In fact, for this first minute, every out breath, make it an opportunity to relax even more. Not to the point of falling asleep, but you really let go into the moment. And from that surrendered place, I invite you to draw a breath for shalom. And just stay with wherever the chant has dropped you. Beneath the waves, where it's quiet, where it's peaceful, every out breath to surrender a little more, to let go a little more, to let yourself sink deep into the quiet ocean of being. And perhaps to come rest, sitting at the bottom of the ocean, moved gently, like a tree in the breeze, by the currents of the ocean. But resting at peace, completely surrendered. In that space, you don't have to be anyone. In that space, you have no identity. You can let yourself be no one. Empty and surrendered. No baggage, no history, no preferences. Nobody. You don't even have a name in that space. You are nameless. You don't have a face either. You are faceless. When you are not this, when you are not that, what are you? In the quietude of the bottom of the ocean, when you don't have to pretend to be anyone, to add anything to the story, when you can completely let go of the entire story, can you taste the freedom of your emptiness? You are the hub. You are the center. You are sacred. You are infinite. You are unknowable. You are vast. You are immensity. You are infinity. You are absolutely, completely free. Perhaps that's what happens when we stop believing the story of me. We transcend our being of skin and become the vast, infinite being of light we have always been. The embodiment of peace, of harmony, of wholeness, of shalom. And can we let that unfathomable peace that is our ground and our inheritance, can we let it radiate from our hearts beyond the walls of this space, that it might touch, that it might infuse the beings of those we know to be in need of healing on this Shabbat. Those you have inscribed in our community's healing list, and those you hold in your heart and invite into the circle of healing in this space right now. And in this circle we include Hillary Wilson, Craig Wilson, David Mark, Susan Austin, Katie Margaret Bank, Lynn Carroll, Eileen Wellens, Alan Walton, Arlene Ross, Janet Lewine, Pam Lesner, Michael Hall, Steve Lucas, Elliot Applebaum, Jerry Pettit, Lawrence Stern, Dorinda Regan, Elaine Lees, Janet Crowley, Zoe Chaya Young, Celia Curran, Michael Burkhard, Russell Waldy, Salim Matt Grass, Judy Lundquist, Jerry and Rana Sanderson, Stewie Ehrlich, James Mehar, Herb MacDonald, Trevor Dolan, Edward Mosshart, Danita Simon, Shoshana Kaufman MacDonald, Ken Carr, and Huffman, Terry Woodland, Darlene Regan, Katie Ann Barry Cortis, Stan Sims, Elizabeth Heath, Mary Allison Castleberry, Jeff Oakley, Kenyatta Bennett, Shelley Prince, Emil Hiesiger, Linda Dimitrov, Donna Glosser, Amy Austin, Ed Diaz, Saul Liskin, Evie Liskin, Barry Rain Thuneman, Melanie Grimes, Linda's Bigley. And we name in our hearts the names of those we invite into the circle of healing, and remind each of us with this song on page 33. It's in you.
You can sing along with this. We'll support the song all the way through. Please join us. It's in you. It's in me. The power to emerge into the light from the dark. It's in you. It's in you. It's in me. Talk to every fiber of your being with your heart. It's in you. For God can be the strength. I am tired, but I'm listening. It's in you. The answer's in me. For God can be the courage to risk battling my brokenness. Is it in me? The way is in me. El Narafanala, 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 El Narafanala. It's in you. It's in me. The power to emerge into the light from the dark. It's in you. Look inside yourself. Talk inside yourself. Be brave inside yourself. Have faith within yourself. The strength is in yourself. The strength is in yourself. The strength is in yourself. It's in you. It's in you. Oh, it's in you.
We have come to the concluding moment of our worship service. We are on page 12 in your prayer book. Please rise for the Aleinu. We say together, we are the ones given this way of praising the Holy One of all being, that we might understand and express the greatness of the one who shapes all creation. We celebrate our uniqueness and that of others, and seek to discover the wonder that we are. Therefore, we bend the knees, we bow, and we proclaim our gratitude before the ruler of all rulers, the Holy One of all being. As it is said, then we shall truly realize the Eternal One as universal being, and on that day, the unity of being shall be celebrated by all. Aleinu leshabeach la'adon hakol, la'atzetz gedula le'yotzer bereshit, shelo asanu kegoye ha'aratzot, velo samanu kemishpechot ha'adama, shelo sam חלקנו כהם וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו And we turn to page 13, to the Mourner's Kaddish, as we take a moment to hold in memory the faces, the smiles, the presence of those we remember at this time. On this Shabbat, we hold in light of memory those you have inscribed on our memorial list, those who have made their transition in recent days and weeks, that we hold Shiva or Shloshim for. Estelle Delson, Tara Levin Delson's mother. On this Shabbat, we also hold in light of memory those who have made their transition this past year. Mike Levin, Ginny Warner, Willard Harlow, Elizabeth Egan, Gilbert Feldman, Lovey Cohen, Ruth Veldy Cowan, Marshall Hartman, Janet Koloff, Roberta Allure, Samuel Gershonovich, Harry Laufer, Pauline Morris, Daniel Glosser, Michael Ben Yaakov Vesara, Chris Werner Mochel, Nan Benson, Donna Mary Harris, Jerry Sutton, Lillian Denker, Mary Gordon, Ted Kuwana, Sylvia Singer, Vicky Bross, Mickey Stern, Phyllis Levin, Marion Meisinger, Leonard Shaw, Dr. Joan Margaret, Dr. Murray Mulliken, Robert Plâtre, Donald Meadow, Leah Viter, Simon Garcia, Thomas Mites, Ira Horowitz, Alan White, Kiana. On this Shabbat, we'll also hold in light of memory those whose yahrzeit, the anniversary of their transition, happens at this time of the year. Louis Spector, Perry Strahl, Shirley Harris, Ludek Elias, Richard Gold, Margaret Balch, Matthew Dana, Eva Ansel. And we hold in our heart those we remember tonight as well. And we say together, Yitgadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabba, be'alma divera chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה. יזברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו. לאלה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמה, ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום, עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו אמן. May the one who creates harmony above make peace for us, for all the household of Israel, and for all the peoples of the world. And let us say, Amen. Before we close with our closing song, which will be Hallelujah, on page 21, just a couple of announcements. We continue with our study. We may be seated. We continue with our study of the Rambam, Maimonides, the Guide of the Perplexed, 10:30 on Zoom tomorrow morning. We are nearing the end of the first book, and it's just an amazing time. So whether you've joined us, whether you've joined us before or never, please feel free to jump in because every page is unique and the teachings are amazing. Our picnic is coming up. It's Sunday the 24th, if I remember correctly. It's at Seward Park, where we used to meet for our picnic, BC, before COVID. Shelter number 2 by the water there. I also want to remind you that if you don't know, we have an app. We have an app that you can download on your phone, your tablet, your computer, your Apple Watch, whatever, wherever, whatever you got, you can take Bet Aleph in your pocket with you everywhere we go. Just go to wherever you download your app and find us there and take us with you. Please join us after the last song downstairs. We'll share in a little bit of bread and bless wine and challah, and just come together and catch up on how each of us has fared so far through this summer. Hallelujah. Page 21. Shabbat Shalom. Come on.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah,
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.